and welcome to Season 3, Episode 31 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in ECW history with match number 20 on our list, which is the three-way dance for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship between the champion Raven and the challengers the Sandman and Pitbull number 2 from the Matter of Respect 1996 event held on May the 11th, 1996. This match, I think, epitomizes Hidden Gem because it is so much fun. It is not a match that you will ever hear get talked about unless you're my friend Jason, who raves about this contest. But it is, in my opinion, the best traditional three-way dance that ECW would ever hold. I say traditional for reasons that we will discuss later on in this countdown. This match is an absolute blast. I've been talking about it for a while now, but this is during my favorite stretch of ECW all time throughout its duration, that, September 95 until, the summer of 96, specifically surrounding this Matter of Respect show, is just so much quality content, memorable matches, memorable angles, hot crowds, hot shows. It is all so good, and it is the best ECW that you can check out, in my opinion. This match is really, really interesting because it accomplishes a lot of different goals. So you have Raven, who is the ultimate heel at this point. He's the ECW World Heavyweight Champion. You have the Sandman, who is in the process. He's just recently turned face. He kicked Woman to the curb after he lost the title to Mikey Whipwreck in the fall of 95. He shifted face throughout late 95 into early 96. He's picked up Missy Hyatt as his new valet, which would be really weird. Missy Hyatt in ECW always felt a little strange to me. I was a huge fan of her as a child in WCW, but she always just felt a little out of place, and her relationship with Sandman was super weird. He would call her mommy and stuff like that. It was all really, really strange, but she's with the Sandman here. So we've got, mega heel Raven, we've got face on the come up Sandman. We would see, although Raven and Tommy Dreamer would always be embroiled in their feud, it would sort of shift, from the really personal kind of vendetta being from Raven Tommy, it would shift to Raven and Sandman, with Raven kind of taking, over the Sandman's family, and creating their legendary rivalry, where Tommy would kind of shift to, feuding with Brian Lee, surrounding Brian Lee, just choke slamming him off various high objects. But the incorporation of Pitbull number 2 here is really, really interesting. So the Pitbulls, were the big team in ECW. Pitbull number 1, Gary Wolf had injured his arm and was going to be out for a little bit. So Pitbull number 2 was given a big singles push, and this was really the kickoff to it. And ECW did something kind of cool here. They were going to determine Raven's challenger by a fan vote. The story is that the Sandman and Pitbull number 2 tied on the vote, which is where we got this three-way dance. I have no idea if that is legitimate or not. I'm going to believe that it wasn't, and if there was any sort of a fan vote, Sandman probably won that. But it was just a really smart way to incorporate Pitbull number 2 into this, because he's somebody that, really had no business being in the world title picture, but this kind of gave a logical reason, and it immediately kind of established him as, this hot babyface singles guy of, yeah, you fans voted him in here, so you need to cheer for him. And he hung in there with Raven and Sandman, and it started what would be a really successful title run. And we've talked quite a few times throughout various videos about his run through the summer and his feud with Shane Douglas. We've got a young Joel Gertner here as the ring announcer, which always throws me off because Joel Gertner from later in his ECW tenure, as the Dudley's manager, or then just the TNN, announcer with the sexual innuendo. But here he is, just really young, ring announcing. Always find it a little strange. This match, though, in the early goings on, it is really designed to accentuate Pitbull number 2. So we get the traditional, three-way lockup. That's the famous ECW three-way dance spot. But Pitbull number 2 just shoves Sandman and Raven both down, just out-muscles them both. They end up dumping him to the floor, and in something I love, Raven in this match is so good. Raven immediately hits the even flow on Tommy Dreamer, just out of nowhere and gets a 2 count and almost sneaks that first elimination away. For the rest of the match, Raven is just really good trying to sneak in falls because he knows he's got 2 guys that he's against, especially sneaking in falls against Pitbull number 2 because he's scared of Pitbull, right? He had lost the World Tag Team titles. Him and Stevie had lost them to the Pitbulls, so he knows what Pitbull number 2 is capable of, and he fears it, and he knows his title is in jeopardy. And again, it's so good to have them show Pitbull number 2 as being that strong to start off this singles run that he would get and eventually get the ECW television title. Really fun spot early on where Sandman and Raven are kind of like dueling with Sandman's cane and a chair, and Pitbull number 2 comes in. So in between them dueling with each other, they would both crack Pitbull over the head with the chair or the cane, and Pitbull number 2 would just no-sell it all because he's so big and strong. And he hits a wild like double cactus clothesline to them both, and they all spill to the floor on it. We get basically a dive sequence in this match, which is like unheard of with these 3 guys. So Pitbull number 2 goes for a spin kick into the corner. He misses that, which is a spot that would happen to him sometimes, and he just sails out to the floor in a wild, wild bump. The Sandman proceeds to dive over the top rope with his Singapore cane in hand and just cane Pitbull while he's coming down, which is crazy. And then Raven follows that up with this seldom seen, basically like wild pescado over the top of the floor. So again, 96, 3 guys in the heavyweight title division that you wouldn't expect to be doing any high flying, and they basically bust out a dive sequence. It was really cool. Because this is 96 ECW, you know that this is going to head into overbooking galore territory, and that's what we get here. But again, it adds to the chaos, it adds to the fun, it adds to the crowd heat, it adds to the match. So we get a ref bump. Everybody has people at ringside with them. So Raven has got Stevie Richards, he's got the Blue Meanie. They did like, they were in a period where they were like emulating different wrestlers kind of as a precursor to what would eventually be the BWO. So they start, before this match, they do like a Shawn Michaels style striptease thing. They have Miss Patricia, who I think is just identified as the Meanie Babe. Here she had a very short ECW run, but she's out with them. Pitbull number 2 has Pitbull number 1 with them, who's got the bad arm, and Francine, who was managing them at the time. Sandman has Missy Hyatt, as well as 2 Cold Scorpio, who was his tag team partner at the time. So there's seconds galore. So we get a ref bump. Pitbull number 1 and Scorpio get into it and take each other out of the match. We end up getting a cat fight between Francine and Miss Patricia, and Missy Hyatt comes in with the cane and canes both of them to get them out of there. This wouldn't be a Pitbull number 2 match without a bunch of just scary spots. He hits a Tiger Driver on Raven, which is like a sheer drop Tiger Driver. He releases him at the height of the move and drops Raven on his head. It's wild. He hits a backdrop driver off the top rope on Sandman, which is nasty. He was originally going to do it off like a table bridge off the top rope, but when he put Sandman on the table tipped over and fell on Sandman all the way to the arena floor, which again was just nuts. We end up getting a spot that we would see later in the TV title 4-way dance from Heatwave, where Raven and Pitbull actually team up, and Raven helps Pitbull number 2 hit the super bomb on Sandman, which was his finish. But then again, just in a really, really good spot, Raven takes advantage and ends up kicking Pitbull number 2 with his loaded boot. So that was something that Raven was doing at the time. He had this foot doctor in, and he had a problem with gout, so he had to wear this protective boot with metal in it, and he would knock everybody out with a loaded boot. So while Sandman's down, he quickly hits the loaded boot shot on Pitbull number 2 to eliminate him. It was a legitimate finish. It's a metal boot, right? Nobody's kicking out of that at this point, but it was super smart because now Sandman was on the ropes after taking the super bomb. We get so many hot near falls for the Sandman here off of things that you would never see the Sandman do. He gets all sorts of like roll-ups and cradles and small packages. The crowd is so hot. This is ECW arena, so everybody's losing their mind. He gets a flash DDT for a really good near fall. They have an awesome use of Stevie Richards here, where he comes in and goes for the Stevie kick, but Sandman pulls Raven in the way. Raven eats the Stevie kick, and it's almost enough to cost him his title, which would play into the summer, where Stevie would end up defending the title for Raven, who was injured quite a bit. So here he almost costs him it. We end up getting a guardrail into the ring, which was a bit of a Sandman staple. And again, just a flash finish, but it came across really well, where Raven counters Sandman, who's going for a move on the guardrail, hits the even flow on the guardrail. So remember, opening minute of the match, the even flow for 2. Here Raven hits it on the guardrail, and it's enough to just hold Sandman down for 3 in a fluke finish. Raven retains the title by the skin of his teeth. We get a typical 96 ECW post-match where after Raven bails, he leaves the Blue Meanie behind, and the Blue Meanie eats the super bomb from the Pitbulls, and they do basically like a respect sort of thing with Sandman. So again, Pitbulls are faces. You know, Anthony Durante on the come up, Sandman's a new face, so they exchange beers, and Sandman offers up Missy Hyatt to them, and they all make out, but then Missy and Francine get into it and have a cat fight, and it's a big schmoz of an ending, as you would expect. This match, though, is so much fun. It never gets the talk about that it deserves. It's compact, it's action-packed, it's a hot crowd, near falls galore, story, overbooking, big crazy moves, an amazing Raven performance, accentuating Pitbull number 2, and Sandman's there along for the ride being the Sandman. What more can you ask for? You can check this match out, of course, on the WWE Network. It might be available on Peacock, I'm not sure, but you can hunt it down online. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.